Right, as promised, we're now going to take the story further by welcoming SABC News specialist correspondent Sophie Mokoena to just give us a sense of what these counter moves and moves actually mean. Sophie, a very good afternoon to you. So do we have a representative currently in Tel Aviv?
We don't. South Africa doesn't have a diplomat, senior diplomat in Israel. You would recall when the tension started, there was a decision taken to downgrade South Africa's embassy in Israel. And later, the senior representatives were called back to South Africa. Some of them were sent to other parts of the world to do the work there. And therefore, we don't have a single representative of South Africa in Israel or in Israel's territory, unless Israel is sending a message that they control Palestine's territory. And we know that it is possible, as you heard there, because they control entry points, critical entry points to Palestine. But the reality is this diplomat that they are talking about is South Africa's ambassador to Palestine. He was an ambassador in Syria. He was moved to Palestine. And therefore, this brings us to an argument in terms of the recognition of Palestine and the fact that Israel is bold to say that he must leave. Where must he leave? Palestine, because he's in Palestine. They can't say he must leave Israel because he is not in Israel's territory, unless there are changes in the Middle East in terms of territorial independence of different people in that region. But what we do know is that we don't have a representative in Israel or in Tel Aviv because South Africa downgraded the embassy in Israel. And since then, there has never been a representative. You know that when Mandla Mandela, Chief Mandla Mandela and the others were taken to Israel by Israeli Defense Force when they were trying to go to Gaza. They had to dispatch officials from Jordan to go and negotiate with Israel to release them. And therefore, I don't know who is our representative in Israel, but it certainly can't be the person that they are talking about or the diplomat that they are talking about.
But then, I mean, Israel, Sophie, is talking about Sean Edward Bainfield. Then where exactly is he based?
He's based in Palestine. He's the ambassador in Palestine. I don't think he is based in Israel. He is based in Palestine. There's no way a South African ambassador can be based in Israel because South Africa downgraded the embassy in Israel, in Tel Aviv. And therefore, it cannot be this person. And as I pointed out, after downgrading the embassy in Israel, they went further to recall senior diplomats in Tel Aviv. They only had junior staff members for liaison, just to help South Africans who are in Israel should they find themselves having challenges, as you often experience those situations where you visit a country, all of a sudden perhaps you've lost your passports or you have this problem. You have just ordinary staff that can help you. We don't have a senior diplomat in Israel, only in Palestine.
So, Sophie, in essence, what does this whole counter-expulsion then between South Africa and Israel, what is the message that both countries are actually sending to each other? And what's the broader impact on both countries, if any?
Well, we know that the tension between South Africa and Israel escalated when South Africa took Israel to the International Court of Justice, asking the court to pronounce on measures that can be accepted as part of ensuring that the killing of Palestinians in Gaza does stop, and also to ensure that there was humanitarian assistance that's being delivered in Gaza after bombardment of Gaza. And since that action, even though South Africa was using international law as allowed within the United Nations rather than calling for confrontation and war, that didn't sit well with Israel, and that tension has escalated. But in recent time, we saw Israel also pushing very hard in terms of challenging South Africa. You saw what happened in the Eastern Cape, where you saw the embassy of Israel and officials going to Eastern Cape, even going to government buildings without consulting the provincial government. There's nothing wrong when they speak to the king in that province, if the king is a host, but when you visit government buildings, you make pronouncement when you are at government buildings, it's a complete different story. But above all, when you follow the Twitter or the X account of the Israel embassy in South Africa, since from last year, you will see the kind of messages that were being posted on that account. And the person who's the most senior person at the embassy cannot distance himself from this. And therefore, the person who has been sent packing within 72 hours was fully aware in terms of what was being posted. If you go there, just check different messages, even challenging, almost using maybe words that are not expected to come from a diplomat against a sitting head of state of a host country. You would recall President Trump expelled our ambassador, Ibrahim Rasool, in America after his utterances criticizing President Trump. And he was sent packing. So you have those kinds of things. But for Israel, that account has done that for quite a number of months now, and therefore you could see that escalation.
All right, and very quickly in closing, Sophie, now there was also a picket right outside, we understand, the Nelson Mandela House, and you got a chance to actually speak to those who were picketing. What can you tell us about that?
Well, they call themselves Friends of Israel, and they are claiming to represent some religious organizations in the country. These are people who often go to Israel on a religious pilgrimage and supported by the embassy, I guess, or sponsored. And therefore, they were calling for the current chairperson of the Nelson Mandela Foundation, Dr. Naledi Pandor, to be dismissed, or she must resign, because she is not representing what they would like to see. That's what they are saying. And you would recall, even there, it speaks to the constant tension between Dr. Naledi Pandor and the Israeli government, or people who are sympathetic to the Israeli government, particularly as it started during her tenure as the International Relations Minister. You know that this ICJ case, it was put forward before the ICJ during her tenure, including the International Criminal Court. And I heard some of the people on the podium referring to that. But on the other hand, you had those who are pro-Palestine saying they support Dr. Naledi Pandor. And people saying that Madiba was very sympathetic, Nelson Mandela. The foundation is fully aware that he was sympathetic to the Palestinian cause. But the foundation didn't want to respond when I asked them for response. They issued a statement, a general statement, that the foundation will continue to do what Madiba was doing, to be in sympathetic with those who are oppressed. So this tension in the country is really, really building. We saw the EFF issuing a statement today, and we are likely going to see more reactions as Israel has also indicated that there will be action that will also follow. We don't know what is that action.
Absolutely, Sophie, and US still has to jump into the arena, I suppose, as well. Thank you so much for that discussion. That is, of course, SABC News specialist correspondent there, Sophie Mokoena, on reaction there since, of course, the counter-expulsion by Israel of Shaun Edward Beinveld, who's South Africa's representative to Palestine.